So you start to get it that if we start to doubt and we start to wonder, I can tell you after 20 years and working with this stuff, intention does have an impact. Which is why I always say, the way she works with plants here, we can see it. It's an easy read. It's pretty straightforward. And I always say that you're going to get better effects if you pray for your plant versus if you pray for your spouse. Okay? So if you pray for a plant, the plant's not going to argue with you. The plant's not going to sit there and say, if you pray for a plant to get taller, the plant's not going to sit there and say, I'd really like to grow taller, but, my dad was short and my mom had spots and they both wilted and there's just no possible way I can grow tall, right? A plant's not going to do that, right? But that's what we do. We argue for our limitations. We have our belief systems. We have our challenges. We like to hold on to our resentments. We like to hold on to things. And so prayer doesn't kind of work so well with people. It gets a little bit more mucky. But when you start to doubt, just think about the plant research and the clear reads that we get on it, that a thought is a thing that affects other things, okay? So I just want to share with you one other study, because this is another study that really demonstrates what we're trying to do with the Peace Project. And the idea of the Peace Project is that every year Dr. John and I are going to do another study somehow, and as more people get more skilled, we're going to see if we can get more of a robust effect. So regardless, whatever happens, we're going to get what we get, but we're learning and we need the data. I believe we need it for the next generation. So, can you go back? So this was, what happened was Lynn McTaggart got so confident from all of her basic biological system data that she started to say, how can we change the world? How can we use this? What can we do to really support people? And so she's done 3 global experiments now. The one I'm going to share with you was on the 10th anniversary of 9/11. Okay, so this was last September 2011, 10-year anniversary of it. And what she did was she had people from all over the world come together online and send peaceful intentions to the southwest corner of Afghanistan. And she chose Afghanistan because she felt as though that would be the one place around the globe that both the East and the West would come together on. And it was a beautiful thing. She had Dr. Salah al-Rashid, who I understand is kind of the Deepak Chopra of the East. Her and him, they were on the computer, and they did this mutual forgiveness ceremony. And they both asked forgiveness from the other side for their part in 9/11. And it was really beautiful and profoundly moving. And then what she did was people from all over the globe sent peaceful intentions 15 minutes a day to the southwest corner of Afghanistan. And the result was pretty incredible. If you see down here, in the month of 2011, in September, when they compared it to the same month in 2010, there was a 790% decrease in attacks. And the next month is 500%, and the next month is 400%. And NATO, a NATO-led security mission in Afghanistan that was formed in 2001, it's called the International Security Assistance Force, reported this duration of time, September 2011, as the longest sustained downward trend in enemy-initiated attacks recorded by the ISAF since the war began. The largest downward trend in enemy-initiated attacks over the 10-year. Okay, so can you go back a little bit? If you look at the slide, you'll see that, there we go. It's pretty common in this type of research to not only look at the month, but look at the months following it. And that's what Dr. John and I are going to do. So the goal is that we're going to compare the number of assaults in the city of Albany and compare it to the last 5 years. Okay? But we're also going to do it in February, March, and April. We're going to see if there's kind of a residual lingering, and this is part of the research. So you see it's pretty common here that they look at the months afterwards, and Dr. John and I are going to be doing that as well. Can you, So these are kind of what I do for another program, but essentially what we're doing is to kind of be able to take the mind and hold it long enough to impact something. And I'm going to take this really down to probably an experience that we've all ever had, okay? Now, how many of you have ever been driving your car and you're sitting at a traffic light and then all of a sudden, for some no reason, you don't even know it, you turn your head and you realize someone's been looking at you? Anyone have that experience? Okay, right. So, actually, there's been a lot of research on that, okay? There's a very famous scientist, I believe he was Oxford trained, Rupert Sheldrake, who wrote an entire book called The Sense of Being Stared At, Okay? And so this idea that that's a very real phenomenon, that wherever we point our minds, we seem to have an effect. Which is why you hear the phrase, to observe is to disturb. Okay? So we've all kind of had that experience, right? Where all of a sudden you realize someone's looking at you. Their consciousness is kind of lingering in you, and you subconsciously feel it. Okay? So the idea that it's the same kind of phenomenon. In fact, just to let you know, they've also done a lot of biofeedback studies where someone is sitting in a room and they've got a camera in front of them, and someone in another room, the person in this room is hooked up to a biofeedback instrument, specifically galvanic skin response, which basically means their perspiration. So when someone in another room is looking at that person on a monitor, the biofeedback instrument starts to register arousal or awakening, basically. That this person can tell that that person's looking at them. And they've done this over and over again, okay? We're all connected, okay? When we start to, and what the art and science of biofeedback and meditation does is teach us to become very aware, to be about what we allow our minds to ruminate upon. You become much more discriminating. You become much more careful that where you land your mind, you're going to have an effect. And when you start to kind of do your own science experiments as far as your own life, you start to become very careful about what you let yourself ruminate upon. Because if you point in this direction, you will feel miserable. Okay? If you think about the people you love, you will lighten up. It's really that amazing to me that we have this ability to choose our thoughts all the time, but so many people walk around feeling so victimized, letting their thoughts think them, letting their experience think them. But we have a choice to choose what we can attend to, what we're going to magnify, and that's the power that we're using in this experiment. So the more we practice this, intention, as she said, intention is well-ordered light. We become what they say in the research literature as coherent. Okay? Can you go back there? So the idea, so when we're incoherent, we have that monkey mind, that mind is running here, running there, and our thoughts think us instead of we think them. We have mood swings, some people don't recognize that they literally have been thinking one thought and then their mood changes and they don't know why, And then we think limited, depressing thoughts. But when we become coherent, which is what these meditations are designed to do, because each meditation leader has a protocol that they're using that helps us to become more coherent, we have more ordered mental processing. Again, we're choosing our thoughts more. And we're able to have, which enables us to have an ordered emotional processing, which means that when we have emotions, they don't kind of overtake us. We don't become totally identified with the emotion and lose our bearings. Okay, we kind of are able to navigate through the emotional life much easier. And we also have what they call cortical resonance, which means that we're much more creative and resourceful thinking instead of those limited, depressing thoughts. I call those cul-de-sac thoughts. You go down just a dead end. We stay open, we stay alert to other possibilities, other creative solutions to any problem. And so again, as she said, intention is well-ordered light. So again, that's a little bit why we're using light in the meditation protocol. So, my question to you is, I will usually ask this, but you guys are all playing, but usually I say, you want to play with us? Come play with us. We're all playing, this is fun. Of course you all know the idea is to meditate 15 minutes a day, and we're doing the programs, and we're going to be using the Albany Police Department data and compare them to the last 5 years. Can you scoot? Let me just take you through the protocol. Essentially, you'll see here is our specific intention as we learned from Lynn McTaggart. It's very important for the intention to be specific. So we're asking that we increase the peace by 15% in Albany. Okay? And so we've asked every meditation leader to bring that in. And so there's a few other reasons why I like light. Not only can you feel the power of it, but also because it also symbolizes understanding and illumination. Okay? And so this idea of anytime you have some kind of dark thought or anything that's kind of frustrating or challenging, just imagine a room of light around it, or an old memory. See light in the room and you'll see that your thinking just starts to kind of reorganize. All of the religious traditions say that God is the glory of light, or the power of light. Every tradition talks about light, and light being a building block of the universe. So somehow there's something in our makeup, and we put off these biophotons, that by us invoking light, there seems to be something to it. So can you scoot? This is Dr. John, and gosh, I wish he was here. He's been very, very sick. He holds a double doctorate in sociology and communication. And he, if you went to the website, you'll see his book, The Primacy Model of Consciousness, which suggests that consciousness is primary, that our consciousness actually influences the events that we experience.